I have a special episode for you today. I got somebody coming today. We're going to talk about ELR shooting. Hey,
Hi,
Chase.
how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, have a seat, man.
Kind of nervous.
No, have a seat. Go ahead, have a seat. How long you been in the business?
Oh, probably about 15 years now.
So you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it.
How'd you get into the business?
Just kind of taught myself, and one thing led to another, and now I do it professionally.
So what's the biggest barrel you've ever had?
Oh, probably a 34-inch MTU. It's pretty big. It was hard to handle.
You ever had one this big?
Oh my God, that thing is massive. This thing's got to be 36 inches long. It's just so big around.
All right, so Chase, tell me what's going on here, man. What do you have here?
This is my Applied Ballistics M30TS 375 and 338 enabler. We have a quick barrel change system on here. I can basically just pop a screw loose, pop a barrel back on and off, change a barrel in less than a minute if I want to.
So all right, tell me about the action here.
All right, this is a Cadex action, 3-lug, 60-degree bolt throw. About as smooth of a shy-tack action as you can get. It's sitting in a Cadex chassis. Absolutely love these things. Super comfortable, super adjustable. Fold up, as compact as you can make a ELR rifle. So it's extremely accurate weapon system. I have shot this thing up to 6,160 yards. As it sits.
Wow.
And that's possible because of this device right here.
Okay, I was about to ask you, because this just looks like a regular scope, right?
It does. This is just a Night Force 8 Tacker, and we've got the spur mount on it that optimizes. I can go down a 1/2 mil, and then I can come up 34 mils for my zero, and then I have a trimmer 3 reticle, which has an additional 30 mils of holdover, and then you have 10 mils on either side of your wind call all the way down. So I can dial 63 mils.
But you only have that windage and elevation available if you're on low power.
Correct. Which
is that where this comes?
Then you lose the ability to see detail, mirage, etc. That's where this comes into play. All right. This is a TACOM HQ, Charlie Terac, and Delta Terac. All right. This device has opposing mirrors in it, and you can calibrate the mirrors to have as little or as much as 200 mils of elevation in here. Right now I have this thing optimized at 40 mils. So as I kind of dial up my, 34 mils, and then I could hold 10 more and still have relatively high power, I would then put this device on, and I have a separate profile in my Kestrel or my Garmin, and we do the mechanical offset at 100 yards, so I know I'm hitting exactly 40 mils high, and I'm about 0.6 mils right on my point of impact shift. The mirrors aren't perfectly straight, so that's why you need to do your 100-yard tall target testing. Super important. All right, well, when we go do some big stuff, like my friend Bill Poor this summer used this device, and we hit 7,151 yards. Well, he needed 225 mils, so we dialed up 200 in this. He dialed the remaining 25 or so in his optic, and then we had so much elevation in, without the delta he would be looking into his muzzle brake. All right, so what this delta does is it actually looks around the side of your barrel.
So that's
high.
the holy smoke. So that's why you need this one, to look around right. Your barrel, because your barrel's pointing up like this, right?
That's correct.
So
it's
essentially
like on a 20-degree angle.
So essentially, just for some of our viewers,
sure,
let's give them a picture. So
actually, no, let's just dial up the Phoenix right
here.
So
but I want to show the scope without this device, assuming you had enough elevation on your scope. Your scope would have to be sitting like this, right?
That's right.
Angled like this.
Yeah. So
pointing into pointing into your barrel.
That's right. So Bill had an old 408 Shytac back when he shot 3 miles first.
Yeah.
He had a base that was, no kidding, like 7 or 8 inches tall. And then on top of that,
Yeah.
it had something like 200 mils of elevation dialed into it. And then on top of that, he had an adjustable mount to get all of his elevation. But at that point, your buttstock is literally down here, and your face is, you're literally holding your head up this high, because the scope's that high just to clear your line of sight over the barrel.
So this.
So now we have something
device.
a little more realistic. You can keep your normal cheek rest. You don't have to adjust anything on the back half of the rifle. You just apply this right there, lock it down. We know our mechanical offset on our 100-yard zero. So we're X amount of inches high, depending on what this is calibrated for. And then, if you're left or right a little bit, that's preloaded into the firing solution. And then it gives you a very, very accurate firing solution downrange.
That's
so
crazy.
We use this system, to my knowledge, we have the longest first round impact on a 1 minute plate, and that's 3,862 yards.
Wow.
First round impact, no shots fired that day at all. Just put it on, let it rip, 3,862 yards.
Wow. I didn't, this never crossed my mind that you have to aim around the barrel so the barrel's not in your way.
That's right. And even still, if I was to dismount this off of the rail and just leave this on it, let's say 40 mils, like I've got it, it still doesn't affect your left or right. So this still puts you correct with your point of impact.
So what is this? What is it chambered in?
375 enabler. So
what is a 375 enabler?
So Applied Ballistics came out with this cartridge. The Shytac, which is kind of the standard, the 375 Shytac, it has a longer case.
Let me see one of those.
And you could not correctly seat the projectile in there. As you know, you don't want to seat the boat tail past the neck shoulder junction. You get a lot of bearing neck tension and, pressure spikes and whatnot. So it just makes your velocity more consistent to not take your boat tail past your neck and shoulder junction.
Right.
So what we did is we took the Shytac, like Jimmy Sloan invented the 338 Norma for the same reason. You had to seat a 300 grain bullet too deep past the neck shoulder junction on a Lapua to fit in a CIP mag. So we Norma'd the Shytac essentially, and we made a shorter, slightly fatter cartridge. We're shooting about 20 grains less powder than a Shytac we're within 50 feet per second, which, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So we're shooting a 400 grain bullet, right around 2,850 feet a second. And the Shytac guys run around 2,900.
Wow.
So extremely consistent muzzle velocities.
That is crazy.
In fact, Brian Litz just made a post on Facebook a second ago, and
I know about his posts. But anyway, keep going.
Sorry, Brian, these work.
So what was
well, he had a 1ES for a string of fire over the Doppler radar.
Wow.
So it was, to get those velocities down like that, they're always shooting really good.
Let me.
So
I'm trying
a first round impact with this system at 2,500 yards is kind of expected. I'll just put it that way.
I'm trying to show the scale this round.
All right, let me get a 6BR.
Yeah, get it. Do you have any 6.5 creeds?
I do.
That's what most people probably nowadays are gonna relate to.
I've got some factory that's nice and shiny right over here.
All right, so this is pretty exciting stuff. I've never done ELR. I know these guys are deep into it. Chase is big time, and you can tell how excited he gets when he talks about it, and that excites me. But I don't know. Look at this. So that's a 6.5 Creedmoor.
That's right. So there's your 6.5 Creedmoor.
And this is the 375 enabler. Do you have just a bullet?
Projectile, I sure do.
We'll see what that looks like next to the 6.5 Creed. But anyway, technology, man. This is what it takes to do what these guys do. I mean, this right here, I've kind of seen them on pictures, but I didn't really understand how they work. Now, the elevation that you dial into this, that's a static. For example, it's 40 mils. If you're holding 60 here, and then you put that at 40, then you just dial 20 here. Is that how it works?
That's correct. So
okay,
let's say we keep our 100-yard zero on this optic. The moment I apply this on, that just put us 40 mils high over our 100-yard zero.
But the way I'm trying to understand it, if I'm holding 60 on the scope without this, and then I put this, which is at 40, now I just dial the scope at 20, the balance?
Correct.
All right, so this is a 6.5 Creed. And this is what grain is
That is a 407 grain burger.
407 grain burger. That's crazy.
So, that's right.
That is crazy. That's probably as big as a 223 or
Oh, it's way bigger.
Really?
Yeah,
oh my God. Yeah, get a 220. That is nuts. That is nuts. That is absolutely crazy. All right, 223. Oh my God. That is crazy.
So, a lot of y'all guys, about 6.5 Creedmoors, kind of the standard load is around 42.5 grains of 4350. In comparison, this shoots 132 grains of Reloader 33.
Wow.
And it doesn't kick that bad. So how many of y'all want to go see Erik shoot some ELR with me? That's what I want to know. So we're going to put him behind an ELR rifle soon and see what he's got out there at the big stuff.
700 yards?
I don't know if we can get that far. So here's what's funny is I just made a subsonic video shooting 500 yards with, we were shooting 1,055 feet a second with the same projectile.
Wow.
And it was shooting half minute at 500 yards.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, this is crazy. My goodness. This is awesome, man. This is awesome stuff.
And I'm building a really big gun now. So that's not,
I like how he said, and I'm building a really big one now. What the heck is this?
So this is a 375 enabler. I'm building a 416 Werner, and on paper, there's nothing really that compares to it. So,
wow.
Cat out of the bag, we're starting to film a TV show, and we're going to do some really big stuff.
Are you allowed to say that on video?
Yeah, I just can't say what it is.
All right, perfect.
So anyway, we're doing that 416 Werner. It's going to be about a 50-pound rifle. It's going to shoot a 550 grain bullet around 3,400 feet a second.
Wow.
It's got a 680 G7.
Now, tell me about the rules. That's one thing I'm very unclear about is the rules. How do the rules work?
For ELR shooting?
Yeah.
All right. So, perfect example. We're going to a Georgia match next weekend. The match director kind of has say-so on what they want to do in terms of bipod rules. Now, there are certain matches, this Phoenix bipod is not allowed. So, King of 2 Mile, for example, I'll have to use a foldable bipod that's no wider than 8 inches in a sub 40-pound rifle, which this rifle weighs 26 pounds, so it's no problem at all.
There's some PRS guys that have heavier rifles than this.
My Tup gun weighs 24 pounds, so and it's a 6XC. So, I don't think this thing kicks too bad, and I actually kind of free recoil. So I do a mild reverse load and free recoil it. I can watch my bullets hit at 500 yards all day. Wow. So it really is not that bad with that muzzle brake on there.
Wow. This is a tub brake?
It's a tub 5-star right there. Very efficient. You can run them out like a tuner if you want, or just run a proper tuner and leave it fixed and let the tuner do the job.
Yeah.
That's what I would highly recommend.
So you run tuners?
On everything. Literally on everything.
So the rules, back to the rules.
All right, back to the rules.
How do you score points? Let's not talk about gear rules.
Okay,
but how do you win? That's what I want to know.
Well, obviously, we shoot steel in ELR, all right? And a typical scoring system would be the distance. Let's say we're shooting 5 shots on our first string at the first target at 1,500 yards. Because ELR, we start at 1,500 yards and we move out from there.
That's the short distance.
That's the shortest distance we shoot in ELR is 1,500 yards.
Okay.
All right, Erik, what's your longest shot?
1,500.
Okay. All right.
So but that's my max.
Right, I understand that. We're going to get you out of that comfort zone pretty soon. But let's say 1,500 yards and you're shooting 5 shots.
Wait. But I did it with a 6x47 Lapua.
Okay, I've shot my 223.
Okay, I'm not asking what you have done, Chase. All right.
All right, Erik. All right, scoring system.
So
yards,
let's recap. You guys start at my max, which is pretty cool coincidence because that's awesome. All right, keep going.
That's just our normal thing. But you shoot a 5-shot string at 1,500. Okay. Right? If you hit your first shot, it's distance times 5. If you hit your second shot, distance times 4, times 3, times 2, times 1, etc. And then some matches you'd shoot 5 shots at all the other targets. Some they'll just move it down to 3. And again, let's say you're shooting 2,000 yards. It would be 6,000 points for a first round impact if you're shooting 3 shots at it.
Oh, I see.
So distance times 3, distance times 2, distance times 1.
Got it.
And then accumulation of total points over the 2-day match, and winner.
Okay, well that's pretty simple. I just because I noticed you guys would rack up a lot of points, and I never understood how.
Correct.
So
And
this is very easy. No.
It is.
Now that you
is pretty
explain
easy
it.
math. So
Okay.
if you see, like, sometimes someone will just absolutely run away with a ELR match.
Because
It's because they got a lot of first, second round, and third round impacts on the targets. Now, Paul Phillips, who's current reigning king of 2 mile, probably the most decorated ELR shooter there is. Him and I at the.
what did he do before ELR? Real quick.
He is a F-class shooter.
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
sure.
That's right.
I'm sure y'all met on the line a time or two. Well, Paul and I, we had actually cleaned the NRA ELR inaugural match out until the very last target. And we both hit 5 for 5 on everything. So we started at 1,500 a mile, 1950. I think it was 2,100 something, and then we had 2250-ish on our last target. And everything was pretty much out in the open. So Mirage was what you saw, was what you got. And then the last target was tucked into an elbow back there. Now I'm shooting 375 enabler, and he's got a 416 Barrett, so he's got me out horsepowered by a substantial amount. And we both hit 3 out of 5 on that last one, but Paul, we both missed our first. I hit second, third. I missed the fourth, hit the fifth. He missed the first, hit second, third, fourth, and missed the fifth.
Oh.
So that right there, he won on that. So
Wow.
that's how that scoring system will flip-flop, even though we had the same amount of impacts, because he was...
Yeah, it's in the order in which you hit.
Correct.
That's awesome. Man, I'm getting pumped up now. Seriously, I've never looked into. I mean, I've looked, but it was kind of confusing. I've never.
A lot of
and
people.
hearing you explain it is.
A lot of people think. Now, I originally got into long range shooting in general just to become a better hunter. I was big into hunting, and we kind of went down the rabbit hole pretty far, and we're still trying to dig it. So, yeah, that was a mild addiction, I guess.
Put down the shovel, man.
That's
Put down
right.
the shovel.
Never. Nope. We're going into the machinery now, buddy.
There you go.
But anyway, I just wanted to be able to extend my hunting distance a little further, and now we're shooting critters at 2,500 and plus yards and 2 miles even. So
There you go, man. This is good stuff, man.
But that ultra long range shooting, a lot of people think it's a waste of time and money. We learn a lot from it on wind, so we can come back when we do our 1,000-yard stuff.
It's like Formula One, right? Like
that's right.
that's where they're experimenting and they're pushing the limits and all that good
doing
stuff.
the same thing, and it's not for everybody, but we have fun with it, and we don't mind wasting money to miss targets. So
Good stuff, man. I appreciate it.
yes, sir.
All right, so what about world records? How does that work in ELR?
Okay, so there are official records, which those have to be submitted with the ELR Central standard, and that is 3 for 3, cold bore, no warm-ups. All right, there's no practice. You can't even shoot paper to check your zero that day.
So you show up and just shoot 3 shots.
That's right. And currently, Rusty Newton has that, and it's a bit over 2,600 yards. The exact distance escapes me. But in New Mexico this last summer, he laid down and he went 3 for 3, cold bore at just over 2,600 yards. Okay. Well, now there's also, what would you say, the longest shots in history. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, a gentleman from France, Hill Country Rifles, Paul Phillips, and Bill Poor. We've all kind of been pushing the limit to what these rifles are capable of doing. Okay. The problem is it takes a lot of rounds to hit out there. Your hit probability are comically low. Right? You'd be surprised how well the guns hold together, but your odds of hitting that target are very, very slim. Okay? Paul Phillips shot what was it? A little over 6,000 yards last year. Oh, the 2 years ago. And then he came back and he shot 7,040 yards. Well, this last summer I got my friend Bill Poor on.
When you say he shot, you mean he hit?
He hit, but it, we're talking 60 to 80 rounds.
Right, but he made an impact.
He did make an impact.
Okay.
Well, this summer, my friend Bill Poor hit at 7,151 yards. Is that the longest shot by a person? To our knowledge, yes, but it wasn't at a sanctioned event. And also, it took him, we would shoot 10 shot strings, and then we would wait an hour. Okay? And I think it was like on his fourth string of fire, he hit the target. So, is that the longest shot? Yes, but we had all day. We were watching conditions change. He had a bunch of walk-in shots. Our vertical was good, but we were shooting into a headwind down there. Well, when you've got a 23-second time of flight, you can imagine up where your bullet's max ordnance is at 60% of the shot distance, there's some squirrely things happening.
Right.
So your wind's blowing a lot harder, and the higher up you go like that, your wind actually will start to change directions.
It just
clockwise.
does crazy stuff.
It does. So, your wind might shift a mile an hour and it moves you 40 yards.
Yeah. So okay. What's the purpose of that? It's just is it more like a fun event? Is it a learning event? What
I would say both. We're pushing the limits of the equipment, and then for me personally, I don't really care about having the longest shot in history anymore. Like, for whatever reason, that intrigued me years ago, but now it's learning for me. I'll help anyone that wants to do that. I'll be glad to help them. Because it's always fun to push the limits like that. But I learned so much. You really start to learn about your microclimates at different altitudes, little tree lines and whatnot that really start to play a big role in what the wind's doing.
Right.
Your aerodynamic jump at the muzzle, and how much, if you have a tiny wind direction change at a mile, it might not move you off a target, but when you're shooting over 4 miles, now you're talking 50 yards. So
It's crazy.
yeah. So, it changes a lot. We'll sit there and chronograph this stuff, and you might have a really tight ES, but if the wind shifts downrange, you might be 30, 40 yards short of the target, even though your velocity was the same. Well, why is that? Was that the bullet changing its ballistic coefficient from shot to shot? Was it the wind? And it just amplifies every error, so we can go back to the drawing board, and it makes us that more accurate at, say 2,500 yards.
Yeah, okay. Now, in the actual events that you guys do, is the format the same to where you guys can have records?
Yeah, so typically at some of these matches, if the venue allows, hey, we're going to have a world record attempt at the beginning of the day. You can sign up for that world record attempt, and, right now they need to be, knocking on the door 2,700 yards, and venue allows it, they'll throw it in there.
So, for example, let's say the record is 2650. All you have to do is 2651.
No, you have to beat it by 10 yards.
Ah, okay.
So you do have to beat it by 10 yards. So let's say it'd be 2660.
Okay.
That's all you have to do is push it by 10 yards.
Okay.
It also has to be witnessed by 10 people that aren't on your team.
Okay.
So it's not hey, we called it,
So 10 people that are not on your team. That means you shoot for applied ballistics. So that means that there has to be 160 people there. Hey, you got the joke. I like that.
Oh, no, just, other competitors you're shooting against, they have to verify that, yeah, this was legit, just so people don't go out and, create a bad name.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, like I said, I don't know anything about ELR. That's just wondering.
Yeah, we're trying to make it as legitimate as possible, and scoring systems, as we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
those work, but the world record stuff's very, very important that there's a set standard. It also has to be shot on a 36-inch square plate. That is the world record standard. Now, the match director, let's say in Kansas in a few weeks, a lot of, I believe it's 20 by 36-inch squares, and then there's going to be some 40 and 48-inch squares the further out we go. And the little bird told me there's going to be several targets beyond 2 miles of this match. So that's fun to me.
Now, when you guys are shooting 7,000 yards, do you guys just do any size target, or how does that work?
I think we shot a 1.5-minute plate. But
I know, but I mean, you can select
this floor in the shop though is the problem. No, it was an 80-inch.
I know, but what I'm saying is, you guys just when you're shooting that far, because it's not sanctioned, you can pretty much
you can shoot it whatever you want.
any size.
If
Okay, I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
If
And
there was
a lot
any-
of people mock us. Oh, that's the size of a barn door. Well, that's a minute of angle at that distance. But yet, 1,000 yards, 10.47 inches is a minute of angle.
Right.
But that's totally acceptable to shoot at 1,000 yards. But if we shoot at 71.51, we get mocked just because the target, that minute of angle increases out there. So
Yeah, no, I get it. But anyway, I mean, I poked a little fun at applied ballistics, but I mean, you guys are kind of the leading
yeah. So our technology,
for sure.
our personal drag models, you can for example, next Friday in Georgia, you'll be able to shoot your projectiles out of your barrel over our radar, and it's going to put a drag model that correlates into numbers into your Kestrel, your Garmin, whatever, your phone even, and your barrel might have a little BC difference than mine. Even though we're shooting the same rifling profile,
twist
same
changes.
twist, we're shooting everything the same. If your round count's higher than mine, you're probably gonna have a mildly lower BC than me. So BC decay over barrel life is a real thing. You can start out, let's say I'm shooting the 407 Burgers on a fresh barrel, and I'm shooting the kind of the standard 507 to 509 G7. And then 2,500 rounds later, I might be down at like 500 G7 if you shot it on the radar again.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, applied ballistics, that you guys do a lot of research, a lot of testing.
Yeah, you want to talk about going down the rabbit hole? Those guys are they're able to use the scientific process to say a solid yes or a solid no with certain things, and then provide people with the best firing solutions that you can get.
That's awesome, man.
So
I'm going to touch on something that you said.
okay,
Said 2,500 rounds later. What's the barrel life on these monsters?
that is actually this is my tub gun, 6XC, but it's also 338 Norma.
So like on that other one that we're looking at.
Right, the 375 enabler. I've got 3 different barrels that all have over 2,500 rounds on them, and they still shoot, under half minute.
Wow.
So it's not an overboard cartridge at all. I had a 375 Shy-Tac that, kind of 3,000 rounds. Had severe fire cracking. I mean, severe fire cracking.
So barrel life is pretty good.
It is. They're better than a 6mm. I'll put it that way.
That's crazy.
But they're a little bit more expensive to shoot. These solid projectiles are over $2 a piece. So
All right. So that's a good point. How much per round every time you pull the trigger?
Probably around $3.50 roughly.
That's not drastically
if you
bad.
reload. And I'm really backed off on the pressure of the enabler cartridge. I don't run it near to its threshold just because it shoots so much more consistent velocities. Now, if I could ramp it up another 100 feet a second, but what does that give us? Nothing.
Yeah.
If you run apples to apples and compare your wind at 2,000 yards, yeah, I'll hold 2/10 extra and get another 1,000 rounds out of my barrel. That's a no-brainer to me. But the projectiles, depending on what brand of bullet you get, you're spending between $1 and $3
Yeah.
a trigger pull on projectile alone. 130 to 150 grains of powder. And then the 416 one round building, that's going to be 200 grains of powder and a 550 grain bullet. So that one's going to be about, the brass alone is $18 a piece for that thing.
Wow.
But it's turned on a lathe, etc.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. By Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys really know what they're doing.
They are good. I have their dies. Just
Yeah.
it's unreal.
So,
how good a quality.
I see there's a ring on this. Is
That's
this
actually
the
for
tub?
my seating die.
Oh, that's from the seating die.
Yeah, that's not a nose ring like on the D-Tacs here.
Okay, so tub. This is the
That's
tub.
a tub nose ring right
Nose
there.
ring right here.
So
Anyway, all right, man. Well, thank you. That was very enlightening. Because, like I said, I don't know anything about ELR, and that's fun stuff, man.
yes, sir.
I guess I gotta maybe try one day.
All right, maybe one day soon.
Tonight I'm feeling me, gonna